Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode here. I'm really excited for today's guest, and I always do say that, but Lauren here is amazing. But even more so, Web3, and we've been saying this for a while, this new technology, all these things that are coming out, in my opinion, this is going to be one of the biggest economic impacts globally in our lifetimes, giving more and more people than ever an opportunity to win. And that's why I'm really excited today to talk with Lauren Ingram, the founder or co-founder of Women in Web3. So welcome.
Amazing. Thank you for having me.
So awesome having you here, Lauren. Can you tell us about what's the backstory behind the Women of Web3 podcast?
Yeah, of course. So we are a community. There's probably about 3,000 people now. And I'm based in London, and I would say that the sort of core part of the community is here in London, but we've got in-person events. There's a weekly Women of Web3 podcast, and there's also a jobs platform, because the sort of overall mission of Women of Web3 is to get as many women as possible educated about this area and also get them excited and hopefully seizing opportunities such as actually going and working in Web3. That would be my ideal, was actually convert everybody to the cult of Web3 and everyone in it.
Wow. And tell me what excites you about Web3? Are you in the tech industry? Are you involved with it, or it just come out based on the community?
I think it's the community side of things, and then also the creative side of NFTs that first got me excited, more than the technical side. So I've known about blockchain and crypto for a long time, but I never really got the bug for it, which is a shame. I could have been a millionaire by now. I've big missed opportunity, but I think it was the community side of things. I'm not necessarily technical. Like I've never learned to code, and actually there occasionally can be this sort of myth that you need to be a developer of some kind in order to start operating in this space. But there's plenty going on that doesn't involve needing to learn how to code. And like every Web3 startup and even a DAO needs like marketers and finance people, everything. So it's diversifying quickly.
Absolutely, because you see it in LinkedIn. It's like, are you a tech? Are you a developer? Yes, you need to, you need all these different layers to be part of the ecosystem. Like for me, I'm an entrepreneur. I was in e-commerce. I was MIRC. I was selling e-commerce in 2012. And so, hey, it's emerging between Web 2.0 to Web 3.0. We all need to embrace Web 2.0 and Web 2.5 companies to build a better Web 3. Dan?
Yeah, no, it's really. Oh, sorry, Lauren.
Sorry, I interrupted you. You go for it.
No, you go.
Well, I was going to say that like I was in the sort of full Web 2.0 previously. I worked at Meta when it was called Facebook, all that time ago. So I was kind of full Web 2, and now I think I probably am Web 2.5 because the community is things like a podcast. That doesn't involve doing anything on the blockchain, and actually, it was important to me that I'm not asking too much of people if they're beginners in this world and they're not quite ready to, like, whether it's sign some kind of transaction we use in their crypto wallet, or they might not even have a wallet yet because they're brand new and maybe have the overwhelm.
Yeah, it's really interesting, like you said, to see where people fall on the scale. But I think because it's so many different technologies merging as one, like you're saying, before it was just crypto, or before it was now we have many, many different technologies coming together. So you have people of different varying levels. I'm curious, what are you seeing in your community? Are the women that are coming in, are they mostly having tech backgrounds, or are they now wanting to get into something because they're really excited about it? What are you seeing with your community?
Probably fewer technical people. There's not so many of them. And I imagine as, being blockchain developers that are women, they're going to be in high demand, and I've got a few in our talent collective that then companies can sort of subscribe to access. There's not that many of them, so I imagine they're going to get paid handsomely for their skills, and I hope so for them. But you've got people from everything. There's things like product management and marketing, finance, legal. There'll be something or several things that have kind of got them excited about Web3. and then they just want to sort of learn as much as possible. Is the attitude I'm finding, is that they just want to like immerse themselves in it. It's amazing, but I also feel like that as women of Web3, we also have to be there for them when they do get that overwhelm at the beginning of like, oh my god, there's so much to know. And also I think maybe because there's quite a lot of scams out there, I think that's part of the reason it can feel like a lot, is that you almost feel a little bit like you're in free fall. I know we talk about the going down the rabbit hole, but it is a sort of like a falling feeling of being a little bit out of control, of like, I don't know what's going to happen next, but I suppose I'm excited to know more about what's happening next.
Yeah, I think that's the exciting part, right? We're all kind of in the unknown, and it's like traveling through this thing that everyone gives their opinion on something, but there's a lot of these opinions are not facts yet, because it's almost like a lot of this stuff doesn't even fully exist, which is fascinating. I am curious on the job side. What are you seeing with companies wanting to hire people? Is there certain specific jobs that they're looking for? So I think this is really interesting around. I'm seeing companies started to hire for like metaverse, like VP of metaverse or VP of Web3, which is, I find is quite fascinating.
Yeah, I find that super interesting. The idea that Web2 companies, or just companies as they would call themselves, are definitely creating these new strategic roles, and it normally is a kind of, whether it's a VP of strategy of some kind, often called metaverse if it's from a Web2 company, and often called Web3 if they're already actually operating in any kind of blockchain related technology. And I mean, aside from that, it does feel like a lot of Web3 startups are also on a hiring spree. Basically, if they've been funded, then they're just in sort of hyper growth, and then a lot of the times looking for community builders, and then that might be anywhere from kind of a sort of junior to mid-level community manager who might sit on Discord and sort of manage the community in that sense, all the way up to a kind of VP of community that's might even be a co-founder of a company, because it's so integral to this space, is building that community, getting people excited and invested, whether it's monetarily or philosophically invested in what they're doing. It's such a core principle that those roles quite often can be really well paid as well.
Yeah, that's okay. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. What I love about the community of women in the Web 3.0 space, I mean, I'm seeing a massive movement where everyone is just collaborative, and it's such it's refreshing to experience that, where women come together. I've been part in different WhatsApp group, and it's just beautiful. And everyone collaborate. Hey, I'm here speaking X, Y, and Z, and I need speaker. Everyone's like really collaborative. The true spirit of Web 3.0. Dan?
Yeah, I think from my perspective, Lauren, and this is only my perspective, I do feel that men are not as collaborative or positive to partner on things. I think women are times 100, like very, very supportive of one another. Where I think a lot of men, I'm seeing this. With men, this bullying. I've seen people bringing each other down, calling each other out. Where women, though, I gotta say, women, like on another level. I haven't seen really any of that here, which I think is incredible, and that's why I titled this "How Women Are the Future of Web3," because I think that's over time that the negativity, it weighs on people, and so I think we're going to see this hyper growth of, like you said, with women, just because of how they're supporting one another. What are your thoughts on that?
I absolutely agree that it does feel like it's this collaborative win-win kind of situation, or I guess like a virtuous circle of like, if I recommend you for something, or like applaud another woman for something, some of that good karma will eventually come back to me. But that's not why I'm doing it. It's because I would love to see women succeed and be more like visible leaders in this space. And ultimately, if you're also bringing other women up, that brings you yourself as a woman in Web3 up. And like there's no downside in that sense. Although I probably would say, maybe from a business or fundraising point of view, that might be less likely to hit that sort of hyper growth trajectory if it, cutthroat business can be, well, cutthroat, and it could be sort of dog eat dog, and that's not something I'd rather be in, but that's sometimes associated with the kind of biggest numbers, I suppose.
Well, speaking about funding, I was just experiencing, what it is in the real world, and I won't mention any name, but it really is who you know. At the end of the day, you have an advisory board that knows everybody, then you get to be in front of all the big VCs. So if you don't have that in your pocket, then the chances of you getting funding is like drop to -0%, right? So the key is really finding that person and building that relationship. It's all about relationship play. At the end of the day, it's a capital investment. I mean, it's a people capital. Dan?
Yeah, I just wanted to shout out real quick Frank Nitti. He said, "Women are smarter than men, and queens rule the world." Just want to shout him out. Sorry, he's a great friend. Check him out on LinkedIn. But yeah, so if you don't have those connections, like you mentioned, Lauren, it's really hard. And Kate, that's a great point. If you don't have the advisory board that knows people, you're just going to be cold pitching a bunch of VCs who are probably, get a million pitches all the time. And I'm wondering if that's what you're saying, Lauren. That's kind of like that dog eat dog world. That's, the challenging part is making sure that you have those people in front of you. And I imagine when you were building this community, what was like the inspiration there to start this?
The inspiration to start it, it was, I suppose, a few things. I mean, I've often been involved in other women's initiatives of things like I've been, when I was working in ad agencies, I've been doing mentoring of other younger women coming into like ad agencies, and similarly in tech as well. So I guess there's a sort of almost a format that I've been following. So when I saw that there was this lack of women in the Web3 space and lack of visible role models, I was like, okay, well, we just need to apply the same learnings as I've been doing in Web2, bring that across, because I would like to see women succeed in this area. This was especially when the sort of NFT market and crypto was doing very well. So I was thinking, that was part of my motivation, is I would like to see women financially succeed. It doesn't look exactly the same in a crypto winter, but that doesn't mean I don't want to see women do really well in it. It just doing really well doesn't have the same sort of doesn't have as many zeros on the end. But because when I was spending time on Discord, when I was first getting to know this space, I did feel like it was very, just very sort of male dominated, and that's not necessarily a bad thing that it's lots of guys, just sort of by default, because I think, gamers is a sort of a more male atmosphere, and traditional finance is also more male, and so you've kind of got that stuff coming together with things like NFTs and crypto. But it does mean that the more women that arrive and kind of go, oh, I don't feel like I could belong here, or like I'm amongst my own people, and so they sort of step back out again, and so then you sort of keep getting that happening. So you kind of have to provide these little like islands that people can find these communities and be like, oh, okay, I can belong here, and then I can sort of gradually learn more and more about this space and sort of become more confident in it.
Yeah, it's why do you think, maybe this is for both of you, why is it right now? Like, why was this not a thing 3 years ago, 4 years ago? Like, why in this moment right now are we seeing this big increase with women really jumping into technology in the future?
Kate, did you want to go first?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, I think the whole concept of decentralization and it's for everyone to thrive. I think for me personally, I'm seeing a movement. I mean, building a community and social audio app at 114,000 people, 8 million listeners. It's the concept of experiencing the harshness of Web 2.0 and the fact that you can have a huge opening of possibilities and opportunities in the Web 3.0. I think that makes us hopeful to build a better future, be part of something, right? And of course, you have, the early adapter where I need to be part of it because I'm seeing opportunity. I can see the data in front of me. I need to be part of it.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I mean, I suppose my own journey was similar, of kind of thinking it feels like there's so much innovation in this space, and I think women are kind of waking up to that more. It probably was the NFT craze that brought people's attention to it, like not just women, but kind of like made it mainstream in the media, and then so it gave more people the opportunity to sort of take note. I do think that actually came together with the pandemic, of like people had more time just kind of at home on the internet, and so like whether they're sort of finding these communities or looking for ways to make money because maybe they've been laid off during the pandemic, that it was kind of like this confluence of like weird circumstances that weren't the case 3 years ago, and I think NFTs made sense of that use case for the consumer, of like why they might want to transact on a blockchain. Like this gave them a reason, whether it's kind of monkey pictures or otherwise. It was a kind of something to get behind and get excited. And also people like brands, they want to latch on to things that have whether it's something as basic as having a logo and colors that you recognize, that's what we gravitate to.
Yeah, it definitely would seem that people really want to be a part of something now more than ever. And it's really amazing how, like you mentioned, you have a community, and like Kate also has a community, and other people have communities, but there's like it seems like there's an overall, like if you say like NFT kind of has their own community and then multiple things within, and now like Web3 is like its own community, which I think is fascinating. And then within that, there's everyone has their own segment. But what advice do you give to people when they want to create, because community I guess could mean a lot of different things for different people, right? And the success of a community could mean different things. So what do you tell the people when they want to get started? Because it seems like you had mentioned, Lauren, it's one of the most important things is really being able to manage one's community. What do you tell the people when they want to get started? How does one get started? Maybe for the both of you, what advice would you give to other women who want to, they really want to dive in and build, not just learn, but they want to build out a community within?
I mean, I think knowing your why you want to start a community is the starting point, because if you don't know why you're building a community, I can't see it having the same level of success or people being as personally invested in it. So it might be that some communities are intended as a sort of money-making vehicle, and that's allowed, but there'll be still something that you want to appeal to people with, whether it's it's those shared interests. And so if yours isn't a sort of money-making vehicle, what is that shared interest or that ultimate mission? So like for me with Women of Web3, it was about getting as many women as possible educated about this space and about the opportunities in it, and so we could go and seize those, and sort of, because the more visible women you have in it, then the more other women want to then join, and that's and sort of diversifying and changing that, addressing that balance, I suppose. So if you don't have a mission and you don't have a sort of shared interest that you're excited to talk about with people, and you're, say, just a money-making vehicle, I think it could only go so far. Like you might be able to sort of get things going, but like it wouldn't be able to sort of have a long-term future, I suppose. Kate, would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. If you're building a community especially in a Web 3.0 world, without having a clear vision and mission and a big audacious goal that what it is that everyone's going to be embraced, it's just not sustainable. Because you have to take the fact of ego and, oh, I did this right, and this is why, DAO is not perfectly curated yet. We don't have any amazing use cases where we can, like, the gold standard. But yes, building a community needs to have a strong leadership and a strong why of why you're building it. And that's the reason why we sustained 114,000 entrepreneurs in the world globally, and we're still intact after 2 years. And everyone's collaborative. Community at that big won't sustain without a common goal. And with us, it was, to impact, inspire 100 million entrepreneurs in the world. And everyone still believes that to this day, and we're still doing it. And that's a collaborative. If you have a strong why where there's no monetary purposes to it, that's just long term, and then figure out what is the monetary afterwards. But yeah, strong why really is the key. And that takes the person who's leading it, makes a huge impact of a community, because you take, human nature, and not everyone is a strong leader. And when you are trying to navigate 120,000 personalities, right? If that's not your strongest stuff as a leader, then you need to have 5 different advisory board in a community that are strong of understanding human behavior. That's the only way you're going to sustain.
Yeah, and actually briefly back to your big, hairy, audacious goals, I do actually think that's maybe missing for women of Web3, is that I feel like the direction is clear, but there aren't necessarily, I forgot what that sort of acronym is, not the big, hairy, audacious goals, but when you're sort of setting goals and they should be like specific, what's the acronym again? SMART objectives.
Yeah.
So like specific, measurable, so I think that's what I need to do, is like add some hard numbers of like I know the direction, but okay, how do I quantify that? And I think part of that is going to be a sort of number of women onboarded. Part of it is going to be a number of women with jobs in this space who are actually kind of actively employed, whether it's on projects or on a long-term basis. And then something I don't know how to quantify, but I'm interested to do, is I would love to make parental leave more transparent in the sort of working world of Web3, so that more women like feel confident going into a job in it. Is that I mean, certainly in the UK and Europe, this stuff is just never clear. And I speak as someone that fell into Web3 when I was on maternity leave, and you just never know what you're signing up for. And I feel like that should be, like, the maternity leave policy, for example, should be listed along with like what the salary is, etc. And so people should see that as one of the benefits that they're weighing up, and it shouldn't be this kind of weird secret thing. And I do think, even though being a woman isn't just about having kids, absolutely not. Like, plenty of women don't have kids, but I think there's a large cohort of women that would feel more confident about a long-term career in this area if they felt that employers had their back in that sense.
Hey, the goal of the future is full transparency everywhere. So really great point. Thank you, Lauren, for being here. Also, share with everyone, though, how can they listen to your show, get in your community? How can they find you?
Yeah, of course. So the weekly podcast is called the Women of Web3 podcast, and I interview loads of amazing women each week, like Randy Zuckerberg, Kathy Hackle, loads of cool people. And then on Twitter and Instagram, we're at Women of Web3 Co, which is a slightly awkward Twitter handle, but we like it.
I love that. That's awesome. So check out Lauren here, connect with her. I know you're really active on LinkedIn as well. Thank you so much for being here. This has been great. Women of Web3, such an amazing organization. Can't wait to see the future of how you impact transparency in the job world on top of the education. So thanks again, Lauren.
I appreciate it. Thank you for your time.